Hey, so recently someone left me a really nice comment on this video about what does a bookkeeper do, and they said I make bookkeeping seem really easy and really simple. And so they were like, what are some hard things about bookkeeping? So today I'm going to talk to you about 12 tricky things that you can learn as a bookkeeper. And if you're already kind of overwhelmed about being a bookkeeper, maybe just click out of this video. Just kidding, I don't recommend that. But just know that these are things that you can look forward to learning in the future because everyone starts somewhere, right? And if you're on your bookkeeping path, then probably you know things now that you didn't know a month ago, and vice versa. So just the more time and effort you put into it, the more kind of different experiences you get with clients, you'll continue to learn these things. And some of these 12 things are things that I don't even do regularly. I maybe have never done them. If you don't know me, my name's Morgan from FinePoints.biz, and I help bookkeepers get organized. It helps me a lot if you hit the red subscribe button down below this video and give me a thumbs up if you liked it. All right, number one is new things. So that I'm thinking more like new laws or when things change. So a little while ago, a few of the tax laws changed, so I kind of had to figure that out. And then how to categorize certain things like meals and entertainment, for example. And then also this year we had the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Plan. And a couple of my clients needed to apply for that, so I needed to get some financial info together. So that was a new thing I'd never done before. No one had ever done it before, really. You need to make sure you have kind of an attitude of learning and you're not afraid to, go out and get answers when you don't know what things are right away. All right, and the next thing that's on the slightly more advanced bookkeeper list is accepting payments and applying them to invoices, and then using the undeposited funds bucket. So I'm not going to go into all of these things in super great detail. Basically, you can just know that you can learn how to send out invoices to clients, which isn't that hard, and then apply payments. And then if you have multiple deposits in the bank at one time from different people, then you want to use undeposited funds because then you can group those together so it matches what is showing up in your bank account. Leave me a comment down below if you already know what undeposited funds are and you use them right now. All right, number 3 is classes, jobs, and tags. So these are all kind of different ways of classifying information in different ways depending on what you need. So I've said before that I use classes for my client who had a bunch of real estate properties, and they wanted kind of like a mini profit and loss statement for each real estate property so they could see what one was most profitable. So every single transaction, I had to tell it, was it for the red house or the blue house or the green house? And, so those are added classes. I've used jobs before. I had a client who was a floral designer and, she'd have different weddings. And so she wanted to assign all this stuff to each job. So those were like her jobs. Or if you have a contractor, they have different jobs in terms of different clients, like a kitchen remodel would be one of their jobs. So that is how you use those. So all those things are kind of an advanced way to help your clients organize their information and help you find things more easily. And you can tell different stories about finances with some of those more advanced settings. All right, number 4 is journal entries. So you may have used journal entries before. I use them. There's a kind of a myriad of different times you might need journal entries. So I use it, for example, if someone's just starting up their business and they buy a computer and some office supplies with their own money, that in their old personal bank account, that transaction is not feeding through like normal, like we'd hook their business bank account up to their bank and then all the transaction would feed through that. But in that case, it didn't feed in through their bank because we didn't hook their personal account up to that. So in that case, I would make a journal entry. And then QuickBooks behind the scenes is doing a double entry accounting. So that double entry accounting has to be balanced. So you have to show that it's an equity that is coming into the business through the owner's personal finances. And then it's also an expense to the business because they bought it for business purposes. So then it also needs to be shown up in the expense account. So it kind of needs to have those two pieces. And again, I'm not going to explain in super detail about all this, but definitely Google that if that's a situation you have that you want to learn more about. All right, number 5, we have adjusting entries. So this isn't something I do a lot. I usually have partnered with an accountant before if adjusting entries need to be done, but basically it's kind of a way to close out a time period or to say you have an invoice outstanding that is, someone owes you money, then you can record that income or expense even if it's not recognized yet. So again, I find that to be a little bit more of an advanced thing. So make sure you're partnering with someone if you're not exactly sure how to do it. All right, so the first few were kind of like technical things. The next couple are more like mistakes that people can make or problems you might encounter. So the first one is a mess. So maybe you have a client who's been doing their own books for 2 years and they've kind of like messed things up and they didn't really know what they were doing. So it's your job to clean up that mess. And some bookkeepers love doing that. Some make, their entire career out of just cleaning up messes. That's personally not my favorite thing to do. You guys know I'm very like systematic and organized. It's great if I get clients that are already really organized, but I try as quickly as possible to sort through any like backlog of what's going on and sort out my systems. And then I like to have a very systematic approach each month. And the next one is not being able to easily reconcile your bank account. So in a perfect world, right, you would go to reconcile and all the transactions in QuickBooks would match all the transactions on your bank statement. But of course, the reason we reconcile is because that doesn't happen 100% of the time. So it is frustrating to kind of, especially if you have a bigger client with a lot of transactions and it doesn't kind of automatically work out, to really sort through that with like a fine tooth comb and see what transaction, maybe you have a double transaction in QuickBooks, maybe you have some of the wrong things checked off, but it is hard when things don't reconcile right away. But also it's just part of the job. All right, and the next thing I wrote down is mysteries. So I don't know, this is kind of like a general idea, but just anything like maybe you pull a balance sheet and there's things on it that you don't know why they're there. Like you don't know what this weird account is that someone made, or maybe it was automatically made in QuickBooks, or maybe there's some check that for some reason keeps showing up twice and you can't figure out why. So a lot of times you do need to be a sleuth as a bookkeeper and kind of like sort through those mysteries and tackle them head on and see what's going on. Number 9 is just kind of the challenge of running your own business. Maybe you run into some tech issues or some problems that you don't know. Maybe you feel lonely because you feel like you're just a bookkeeper all alone in your office. But that can definitely be a challenge of being a bookkeeper as well. 10 is specific tax questions. So as I've said many times, I'm not a tax preparer. I don't have that certification. You need a special set of like schooling and certification to prepare taxes for people. But as a bookkeeper, I do have to kind of know a little bit about what's going on with their taxes and why I'm categorizing things in certain ways. So that can be overwhelming, especially when you're starting out, because there's like so much tax information. Don't necessarily expect that you need to know every single thing. You can always rely on an accountant. You can go Google stuff, and you just kind of learn it a little bit as you go along, little by little. Number 11 on the little bit more advanced bookkeeper tasks is preparing 1099s. So that is a form that you have to give to any contractors at the end of the year to say how much you paid them, how much they worked. It's like a W-2 for employees. And so bookkeepers can prepare 1099s if you would like to include that in your services, and that might be a lucrative thing for you, so that would be great. All right, and number 12, I kind of grouped together and I called it accounting stuff. So as a bookkeeper, you're not an accountant, but it is helpful to know some kind of general accounting knowledge. And this is like a little bit of a controversial subject. Like some people, especially accountants I've talked to, think you need to know all the underneath details about accounting before you learn QuickBooks. I did it kind of the opposite. I learned QuickBooks quite well, and that in turn helped me understand the underneath accounting principles. So, I mean, in my opinion, you could do it either way, but just kind of a quick overview. There's generally accepted accounting principles, which the acronym you might see is GAAP, and that is kind of like basic info. You could just Google those and go read them really quick. But it's things like a business owner's personal finances have to be separated from their business finances. So stuff you probably already know or you kind of learn as you go. Another thing is the accounting formula. That is assets equals liabilities plus equity. And you kind of already know this general concept, like if you've bought a car or something. Maybe it's a $5,000 car and you took out a loan for $4,000 and you paid $1,000. So that $5,000 equals the other $5,000. So sometimes these accounting principles seem really confusing, but if you break it down into really simple terms that you already understand, that's going to help you out a lot. And the last thing on my accounting list is understanding debits and credits. And again, I kind of did it in QuickBooks, and then that helped me understand it in an accounting world, but it's just kind of how things come into and leave your accounts. So I will say that Bookkeeper Launch, the program, goes into those accounting principles really well. It does a good job of explaining them in an easy to understand way, and it starts you from the very beginning and goes through all those principles, and then really helps you like every step of the way in creating your bookkeeping business. Learning QuickBooks, practicing QuickBooks, setting up your business, like it's very all-inclusive. So if you want to check that out, use my link down below. That does help support my channel as well if you use my link. Let me know in the comments down below if you knew all these already or if it was news to you, if you felt overwhelmed. Let me know kind of what your reaction was to those more advanced bookkeeper tasks. All right, thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.